Jaxon, Smith-Njigba, Sam Darnold, and the high-flying Seattle Seahawks host CJ Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., Nico Collins, and the Houston Texans. This is a really important matchup, an interconference battle that really sets the tone because the Seattle Seahawks at 4-2, they're locked up with the Rams 4-2, the Niners as well, and then in the AFC South, Houston is trying to catch the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're trying to catch the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts. They've got an uphill battle to run up, and yet if they lose this game, they're sitting there at 2-4. They're coming off of the bye week as well as a blowout great win over the Baltimore Ravens. It is very important that this team find a way to run the football. They need to maintain time of possession and, as well as they can, not have CJ Stroud in straight dropbacks, because this might be the best defense in the National Football League. All the talk about the Rams front or the Denver Broncos or the Chargers, no, this team in Seattle has had 20 sacks so far on this season. They are opportunistic. They get after the quarterback. 31 tackles for loss. They also get after the running backs, guys in the backfield as well. They have just about as many passes defensed as anyone in the NFL. They've had 28 so far on this season. So they get their hands on you, and they don't give you a whole lot of opportunities to get away. Remember, they didn't have Rick Woolen. They didn't have Devin Witherspoon. There was no Julian Love against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had been a very good team, just beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, and they were able to limit Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas. Are you kidding me? Without those two great cornerbacks and losing all those guys in that secondary just shows you how deep Seattle is and what type of team Mike Macdonald is working with. Now, that is not too shabby of a defense for the Houston Texans, anchored up front by Danielle Hunter, the monster. On the opposite side of him is Will Anderson Jr., the former back-to-back SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He's the type of guy you need to circle and really highlight in this game. Seattle needs to do everything they can to not let this guy impact the game. Look, you can't double Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter every single play, because frankly, that's 4 players, and you can't be protecting with 7 or 8 guys every single snap if you hope to have some sense of a downfield passing attack. But how do you mitigate that pass rush? It absolutely has to deal with your run game in the same way. I actually think that this is going to be a very run-oriented game. Kenneth Walker, that's my guy right now. Look, I love Zachariah Charbonnet. I live out in Los Angeles. That's a UCLA kid. I've got every reason to root for him, but Kenneth Walker's just different, man. He's got that burst to him, close to 5 yards per carry on the season. Both of these guys do a good job of getting into the box. They've got 3 touchdowns apiece on the year, but we all know who the best player on that Seahawks team is. He might just be the best offensive player in the NFL to this part of this season through the first 6 weeks. That is no one besides Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Almost 700 yards receiving, leads the NFL in receiving yards. This guy is practically uncoverable at times. You don't need to break down wide receiver U being Ohio State. That's talked about every single day practically on any podcast. But this guy is so good, and what makes him dangerous now is with Cooper Kupp, with A.J. Bardner around him, that there's other options for Sam Darnold to go to, because you kind of have to double JSN at times. It's incredible because he's not like 6'4", 225 pounds. Look, he's well built, 6 foot, about 200. He's got the ability to catch the ball just about every time it's thrown at him. It's not just the success rate, but it's also the yards after the catch, contorting his body in wild ways to be able to make crazy grabs. You're looking for him just to be a little bit more productive down there in the red zone. That's where it hurts you, where you're not a big body, 6'3", 6'4", to be able to be that threat down there, but he's just as good because you get the ball to his hands in space. He has the potential to burn you. This secondary, a guy for the Houston Texans that really needs to play well, like I mentioned, in Will Anderson, because you have to make sure that Sam Darnold does not have a clean pocket to work with. Otherwise, they absolutely can make you burn in this game. Derek Stingley matched up against Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Are you kidding me with these types of matchups? They get me just so excited. First of all, Derek Stingley's an LSU guy. You always hear about the Ohio State versus the LSU guys, the DBU for LSU or Bama, wide receiver U for Ohio State, LSU. Oh, we get to see these two guys get matched up together. I don't think they've gone against each other in their career because AFC teams versus NFC, right? You've got those divisions only scoring up once every 4 seasons. So to see this one of the best corners in the NFL going up against probably the best wide receiver right now. I know there's Jamar Chase. I'm very aware that Justin Jefferson, that these guys are extremely talented, but I got to tell you, the way that JSN is playing right now, it just has you feeling like this guy is practically unguardable at times. Now, besides just that, let's get into this Houston Texans offense, because what they need to do is really be able to have the run game, like I talked about earlier, because this Seattle front gets after you. They're close to having almost 4 sacks a game on the year. They need Nick Chubb to continue to run the football well. They've had a good amount of success with him, over 4 yards a carry on the season. Woody Marks, the kid out of USC, he's been quite good for them as well, getting the run game going to open up the offense, because it's Nico Collins and a whole bunch of, who else do we get the ball to? Dalton Schultz, look, that's a good tight end. But right now, there's a lot of frustration with this rookie draft class. The second rounder in Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. Jalen Knoll, the third rounder out of Iowa State. There has been no production out of these rookie wide receivers, and they passed on a whole lot of talent in those rounds. There were very good football players later on in the draft to be able to try and target. You add a weapon somewhere in the form of a running back. No, you had Joe Mixon, but look, they passed on Judkins, they passed on Scadaboo, they passed on Travion Henderson. There are running backs there. There were other wide receivers that they could have taken. There was defensive talent littered throughout this draft. So the Houston Texans fans already halfway through this thing are ready to stamp their disapproval. I'm going to wait, because I remember watching these guys combine for 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards over the course of the last 2 years, making Iowa State a game away from the college football playoff. But look, there just hasn't been the production there. Higgins only 121 yards on the season. It's been the Nico Collins show, along with a couple of other guys trying to make impacts for this team. Hutchinson, there's Kirk, there's I guess the running backs out of the backfield have tried to be able to bring a bit of an element to the passing attack on screens and dumping the football off to them. But really, that's what it will come down to. I have a lot of faith in this Houston Texans defense to be able to limit the rushing attack of Seattle, to put Sam Darnold in third and longs consistently. But I've also got a lot of faith that Seattle can do the same. I actually think that I have a little bit more confidence that Houston can run the football in this game. I love those edge defenders and what they have for Houston. And Seattle is a team that's built, I would argue, a little bit better. Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy has been unbelievable this season for Seattle. The interior of that defense, in my opinion, is the strength. Let me know down below. Would you agree with that? I don't think that's a crazy hot take to say that these guys are built so good in the middle there. Look, DeMarcus Lawrence has been an awesome addition, a veteran player coming over from Dallas. He's been awesome for him, but that's just from what I've seen so far early on in the year. Now, Nwosu, getting production out of him, that's been awesome. That's a bright spot. Have to continue to see that. But, man, I'm just fired up for this matchup because of the implications that this one has. If you're Houston, you just cannot at all afford to drop this game and move to 2-4 on the season. If you're Seattle, you almost can't as well. If you drop this game, you will no longer be in that top 7 of as far as what the playoff picture would look like this early. And yes, it does matter, because there are teams right behind you that look like this is a very deep conference. This conference is the SEC to the AFC being the Big Ten this year, if you're making a college football reference. There's 12, 13 teams in the NFC that have a good shot at this thing and actually could have a shot at winning playoff games, whereas the AFC, realistically, there's only about 8 or 9 teams. Houston has got to come up with a win in this game. Now, I believe that they can. I don't know the status. It's tough to make one of these videos when you just don't know about Witherspoon or Rick Woolen. I truly believe that they could get away against Jacksonville. Brian Thomas hasn't quite panned out to be the superstar that you thought he could turn out to be. He's dealt with a ton of drops early on in his career. I think that not having those cornerbacks, if they don't have them for Seattle, that truly could be the story and the major narrative of this game going into it, and that the Houston Texans can take advantage. CJ Stroud has kind of struggled the last couple of years so far. The second year and this year on the season, he's got over 100 rating. He's been good, but they just haven't had that explosive offense. Whereas the Seattle Seahawks, they're playing in shootouts. Sam Darnold so far 116 rating on the season. Completion percentage over 70 to CJ Stroud, also over 70. Guys that complete a high percentage of their passes. Great high quality quarterback play. I just like that the Houston Texans can win this game. Just injuries could be that factor, and going up against Nico Collins, what type of guy can go cover him? Really think that unless Seattle gets a ton of pressure on this one, which they can, this Houston front has struggled a bit. CJ Stroud already sacked 12 times on the season. Not horrendous like it's been in the past, but still not great. So if they can't do that, I do believe Houston will be able to pull off the win in this game in tight manner. I really don't see a chance that this game will wind up a blowout either way. Both of these teams look so evenly matched, but I've got Houston winning it 24-21 on the road. They pick up the win. It's like Seattle Seahawks play great on the road, but for some reason at home, I'm going to kind of stay with that trend. 24-21, Texans get the win on the road. Let me know down below in the comments whether you agree or disagree. Want to hear from you guys more. It's so awesome to engage, get down there as much as I can, about once or twice a week, responding and engaging with you guys. That's one of the most fun things for me, whether I see the disagreements of people coming after me, leaving out this particular part of what could be important to this matchup or what I could also add. It's awesome for it. The negative stuff's fun. The positive stuff's all fun and games. We all love this sport. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so to catch more Blitz with Blender content. I make NFL college videos every day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Best player in college football. That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blender. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Blender.